Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining today. My name is Jenny Meyer. I am a certified personal trainer, a gym owner, and a mom of 3 little girls. And today I am so excited, yet a little nervous, to be here with Yuri Elkaim. He is the author of the All-Day Fat Burning Diet, which I have based so much of my training programs on: the carb cycling, the intermittent fasting, all of that. So I am so excited to have him here with me today and just ask him and pick his brain about the book and the new energy greens that I have been testing out. So thank you so much for joining me today, Yuri.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Good to be here.
Yeah. So first off, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and your background in the health and wellness industry?
Sure. So I grew up wanting to play soccer my whole life. Like, that's all I wanted to do was play pro soccer. So from the age of I don't even know, when I was 2 or whenever I could start walking till about 24, that's all I did. And I was able to play professionally in my early 20s, which was awesome. But that whole journey masked a lot of health issues that I was having. So I had really low energy, digestive issues, eczema, asthma. And I just thought it was whatever, I'll just grow out of it. And I was very active, but I wasn't healthy. And that all culminated in me losing all of my hair when I was 17 years old to an autoimmune condition.
Oh, wow.
And that's why I don't have any hair. So that kind of led me on this path of pursuing studies in kinesiology and health sciences because I was interested in that, but also because I wanted to figure out how I could solve my own health issues. So it took me a good part of 8 or 9 years to really kind of go down that path and do all my studies and figure things out. But during that time, I started off working as a trainer and nutritionist. Then I kind of took a hiatus to go play pro soccer, came back and started picking up my clients and really ramping things up. And I just got to the point where I just knew there was a bigger calling for what I wanted to do. And I knew that one-on-one wasn't right for me. So I started an online business. And that was 11 years ago. And then since that time, we've helped over 500,000 people, written 3 published books, been on Dr. Oz, all that cool stuff. But for me, the big thing was when I went back to school to study nutrition, that changed my life. I was learning things about nutrition I had never known before. And I grew all my hair back, even though I kept my head shaved, had way more energy, had all my health issues literally dissolve within a couple of days or short weeks. As you can tell, I don't have any hair anymore. That's because a couple of years ago, I took my oldest son to the doctor and she recommended I get a tetanus shot. For whatever reason, I don't even know. I got the shot within 2 weeks, my hair started falling out again. So that's just why there's nothing there right now. But anyways, because of the transformations I experienced, I felt that if I didn't know this stuff, there must be billions of people who don't know this stuff. Yeah. And so I just made it my mission to really help as many people as possible with simple, pragmatic, and evidence-based information. Because what I do is I take complexity and I simplify it, because I think this world of nutrition and health is very overwhelming for most people. And I like to
and it really is.
Distill it down. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And I have found that I have your book right here, the All-Day Fat Burning Diet. This simplified it so much for me too, to understand and how I can help women just like me who don't know where to start. And so thank you for writing this book, first off, and for making it simple to understand. So I guess what prompted you to write the book and to start getting into publishing?
So I wanted to reach more people, and I knew that having an online business was great. I always had this allure of wanting to have a book in the bookstore. So my first book was called The All-Day Energy Diet, and that was based on an online program that we had. And that did really well. We had number 2 in the New York Times list, and we had all this, great press and all this awesome, praise. And then, so I'm known for helping people have a lot more energy and helping people burn fat. Those are the 2 areas that I'm really good at. And so after having written the book on energy, I was like, well, I've said everything I can say about energy. That's it's an amazing book, but I still hadn't written a book on fat loss. And I knew that a lot of women specifically that I've been helping over the years, in person as well as virtually, have tried everything, but they still haven't been able to lose the weight. And I kept getting these questions over and over again. I eat well, I exercise, but the weight just doesn't move. Or I'm trying to lose those last 10 or 15 pounds. It's just not happening. And so that was a real kind of nagging concern that just kept coming up over and over again. So I started testing things out with some clients And then one of our membership programs, I started to introduce this concept of the caloric cycling that I talk about in the book as part of the nutrition component for the workouts. And we started seeing amazing results. And I was like, what if I actually like kind of based that on this, or based the book on this whole thing? And that's kind of how it all came to be. And since that time, like, we released this, I believe, two and a half years ago, I think. And it's amazing the transformations, like women and men who struggled to lose the weight, get started, or the last 15 pounds, they've finally been able to shed that. And the cool thing is that it's without deprivation. But there's no deprivation. You can enjoy amazing foods. And it's all about getting back to basics of really understanding how your body operates and kind of tapping into that natural rhythm a little more effectively than saying you have to only eat these specific foods and count your calories. That's not what this is about.
And I have so appreciated that, and as well as my clients too, just being able to eat a variety of foods and not limit it, and not go on a low carb diet all the time, and not go on the low fat, no fat diets. And so I've really enjoyed that as of my clients. So, and it gets into intermittent fasting too. And so can you give us a little science behind intermittent fasting and why it works, how it works? I know my ladies are so curious about this, and a lot of times they're scared to even take that step into this lifestyle.
So the book is based on a 5-day food cycle, which is basically a little rhyme I use is some days high, some days low, some days yes, some days no. So the some days no would be like the no eating, like the intermittent fasting. And the whole reason we use this is not to say that you have to do this for the rest of your life. It's just to go through an experiment for 21 days to understand, like, wow, I feel really good when I don't eat as much food, or when I have these specific foods. So intermittent fasting, a couple things that are going on. So first and foremost, it's probably the most eye-opening experience from a health nutrition thing you can go through, other than doing like a, ayahuasca or, whatever medicinal, things like that. But the cool thing is, like, when you don't eat food, you start to really understand a lot of your own nonsense. Like, why is it that I'm hungry? Oh, am I bored? Am I anxious? Am I stressed? Why do I feel like I have to have this specific food now? I'm not even hungry. So there's a really cool battle, journey, discovery process that happens in just one day. And most people go into that first day not really knowing what to expect. But after that one day, they're like, I feel so much more appreciative, grateful, clear now that I've gone through it. And so that's just from a kind of like a self-discovery perspective, really powerful, because you start to understand, like, you don't have to be eating all the time and you'll be fine without the food. So that's just one interesting aspect. Scientifically, what's been shown in a lot of research is that intermittent fasting, so we're talking about 18 to 24 hours basically, is a process where you don't have any food coming in. So you're basically just drinking water or herbal tea. And that allows your body to spend more of its time and energy repairing stuff in your body. And that's really important, because when we're eating food all the time, a lot of that energy, so I talk about this in my first book, is your body, when it comes to energy, it's a zero-sum game. Like, if you have 100 units of energy, that 100 units is going to be used in different proportions for different things. So if you're eating a big Thanksgiving meal, that's like 95 units of energy just on digesting that food. And that's why we feel so tired afterwards. So if we're constantly eating food, we don't have the same amount of energy and resources internally to go around the body to scavenge and repair and recycle damaged cells, break down immune complexes, and really fortify our defenses like we can when we're not eating. So I'm not saying don't eat. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just don't eat for one day a week, because when you do that, it allows your body to go through a process known as autophagy, which is this whole kind of recycling repair process that doesn't happen if you're constantly stuffing food in your face. The problem nowadays is that most people have been trained to believe that if you don't eat, your metabolism is going to shut down, you're going to store all this weight, and that's completely false. And what we're doing instead is we're helping you actually identify why you eat in the first place, that if you're going a couple hours without food, you're going to be totally fine. And in the process, you actually help your body burn more fat as opposed to relying on carbohydrates and sugar all the time. So if you're eating every 2 hours, your blood sugar is always high. And therefore, you're tapping into blood sugar as your fuel source for glycogen, which is the sugar stored in your muscles and liver and fat. But if you're not eating for the day, now your body starts to rely more on fat as its major fuel source. And you can train it to do that much more effectively, just in the same way that an endurance athlete becomes much more reliant on fat as a fuel source as opposed to sugar or carbohydrates the more they train. So it's a really interesting thing. And yeah, it's just something I would highly recommend every single person do at least once, just to have that kind of introspective journey. And then over time, we'll see the amazing benefits health-wise.
Yeah, it took me a while to accept it and even give it a try. I was so nervous because when you're taught as a trainer and growing up that, yeah, you are going to slow your metabolism down if you don't eat every 2 hours. And that's what I was doing personally. And a lot of my clients were doing the same. And so it's just this concept that it is great. And when you start reading about and hearing about the science behind it, it makes so much more sense. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah. And there's more science in the book, obviously, about it. So
yeah. One question I get a lot, and I want to know your thoughts on it, but so what are your thoughts when you are in a fasted state about strength training or weight training?
I think it's great. So there's, so it depends. If you're somebody who's like 300 pounds and you have a lot of excess fuel, you can go in a fasted state and exercise, no problem. It's all good. But if you're someone who's already thin, slim, low body fat, you want to do so. I wouldn't say what you want to do that every single day. You'd want to do that intelligently. All right. So what I recommend is if you're in a fasted state, is first thing in the morning is you can do some intense cardio. So like interval training, where you do, let's say 5 seconds burst, 10 seconds recovery, 5-second burst, 10 seconds recovery. You can do that for like 5 minutes, and that's going to prime your metabolism, your body, to do a couple things. Anytime you work out intensely, you're producing catecholamines, which are essentially like epinephrine or adrenaline, which is a stress hormone, and it's going to go around your body and break down fat. Okay, so that's a really cool thing. So when you're in a fasted state, your body's going to do that if you're exercising at a higher intensity for short amounts of time. And the cool thing is, if you don't eat immediately after the workout, all that broken down fat is now going to be kind of selected as a fuel source to be burned after the workout. So not that you have to do this all the time, but in a fasted state, you can do a interval training workout or even a weight training workout, totally fine. And what I would suggest is every now and then, maybe not every single workout, but maybe every other workout, if you're working out, 2 to 4 times a week, is just give yourself about an hour after the workout with no food. So you're in a fully fasted state. Your body is now going to start to think about, okay, where do I get fuel from? Can I tap into my fat stores? And that's going to be the first source of fuel if you're not eating food on before the workout or afterwards. So that's one thing to consider. If you want to exercise in a fed state, so for instance, let's say you had food before the workout, let's say an hour or 2 hours before, you don't have to eat immediately after the workout because your body has enough of the reserves in terms of amino acids and carbohydrates to pull from to help you recover after the workout. And not eating right after the workout is also going to allow you to tap more into that fat reserve as opposed to feeling you have to stuff yourself before and right afterwards. If you're an athlete and you need to recover right away for the next game, it's a bit of a different scenario. But in terms of fat, if the goal is fat loss, you don't really have to be eating in and around your workouts.
Okay, so even if you were to do a strength training workout in a fasted state, still give it that hour afterwards before eating again? Or eating for that day?
Yeah, so you can, some people might be worried about muscle wasting. It's not really going to happen because the cool thing here's the cool thing I talk about in the book as well, is that intermittent fasting and intense exercise have the exact same effects in the body. And actually, deep sleep does as well. So deep sleep, intermittent fasting, and intense exercise all have the same effects. One of those is increasing growth hormone. So when you are exercising at a high intensity, and by high intensity, I mean, you could be doing like a high intensity cardio workout for like interval training, or you can be lifting heavy weights and really challenging your muscles. I'm not talking about like lifting like a pen, like a 2-pound dumbbell like 100 times, right?
Yeah.
So what that does is it increases growth hormone, and growth hormone stimulates muscle growth and strength. So even if you're in a fasted state, as long as you're working out properly, you're getting the kind of building blocks for muscle repair and growth. If you want to kind of, give yourself maybe a little bit of an insurance policy, you may want to consider supplementing with a branched chain amino acid, so a BCAA. And all that's going to do is it's going to give your body some of the 3 essential amino acids really for helping with muscle repair. But other than that, you don't even have to do that. Other than that, most people are going to be fine training in the fasted state. To be very honest, I do most of my strength training when I'm in a fasted state. So usually in the morning before breakfast. And here's the cool thing is that I train pretty heavily on the weekends because that primes my body to then be more receptive to the onslaught of food I'm about to give myself.
Yeah.
So if I were to train the other way around, it's not necessarily getting the same benefit. When you train, your muscles are much more receptive to taking in all the nutrients afterwards. So even if you just did nothing but contract your muscles before you ate, you'd benefit much more from the food. So
yeah, that's really good information. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what would be your top tips for someone going in and trying this new lifestyle of implementing intermittent fasting? And if they are scared, what would be your top couple or few things you would say to that?
I think the whole premise, my whole goal with the book and this whole way of eating is to make it lifelong. I'm not interested in a 21-day fix. That's not what I'm about. I don't even like calling it a diet, but obviously publishers have their things with diets. So what I try to really get people to do is go through this experiment. Try it for 21 days, go through the cycle a few times, and get a sense of what works for you. And the whole idea is to help recalibrate your body to the point where you know when you're hungry and you know when you're full. And that's it.
Yep.
If you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like having breakfast, don't have breakfast. And guess what? You're totally fine with not having breakfast. If you wake up in the morning and you want breakfast, totally fine as well. If you have days where you just want to eat all day long because you've been super active, then that's totally fine. If you're sedentary and you don't feel like eating, that's okay. So the whole point of this approach is just to go through a bit of a training to get your body and your mind and your taste buds to just be okay with that. And as we do that, it's helping reset your metabolism, resetting your normal hormonal rhythms so that you just feel more normal again. And so I think going into this, the best piece of advice I can give people is just give it a shot, right? Go into it knowing that it's not going to be, the easy button. There are going to be times where you might feel hungry, times where you might feel not hungry, but that's okay. Yeah. That's part of the process, and just allow your body, just tune into your body, because once you're finished it, then you can mold it and adapt it to suit your lifestyle, maybe a little bit better based on what's going to work best for you.
Yeah, exactly. And ladies, for my fat loss programs, I base it all on his book. It has changed my life. It has changed the lives of hundreds of my clients. So all of my fat loss programs are based on this book and the 21-day cycle. I have extended it a little bit, but it works, you guys, it works. It is scary at first, but it works. So that then leads me into these energy greens that I have just been trying out. Let me tell you, I love them. I have tried greens powder before, the greens, and nothing has tasted like this has. And so I appreciate you sending this to me to try out. So do you want to explain just a little bit about what this is, what it does for the body?
Yeah. So the reason I developed those about 3 years ago was I've been talking for years about the importance of getting more greens into the body, the importance of acid-alkaline balance, because it really is the foundation of health. When we look at cancer, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, all that stuff comes down to 3 factors. Acidosis, which is a buildup of acid in the body, toxicity, and inflammation. And all 3 are related. So by getting more greens into the body, you solve a lot of those issues. We know we have to be eating more vegetables and fruit, but the problem is that most North Americans are getting 1.5 servings per day instead of the recommended 6 to 10. So the next question I was starting to get, people would ask me is okay, well, you talk about greens. Do you have a greens powder that you recommend? And I was like, well, not really, because I don't know where you live. Most of the ones that I've tried taste like pond water or fresh cut lawn. And so then it got me thinking, why don't I just create my own? And so we partnered up with one of the best raw superfood companies in the world. And I said, send me all of the ingredients, like send me all of your raw materials. And they sent me like bags, like 5-pound bags of chlorella, a spirulina, goji berry. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with all this. But so what I did for 4 months, I was in my kitchen, and every single day I would try a new concoction. I would write down, okay, 1 tablespoon of this, 2 of this. And 4 months of trial and error, I finally cracked the code, and I tested it out on my kids. I've got 3 boys. And if they enjoyed the taste, I knew that we were onto something big. And obviously I felt the taste was great. They enjoyed it. And so we sent it back. We said, okay, here's the formula, and let's manufacture it. So we have a proprietary blend. It's not found anywhere else on the planet. We didn't white label some other, companies' greens powders, which most companies do. And it's 8 superfood ingredients. It's not 100 things that have trace minute amounts that you can't even detect. You're getting 8 amazing superfoods. Everything is 100% USDA certified organic, gluten-free, 100% raw. And the most important point with respect to, other than the fact that it tastes amazing, and I'll talk about the taste in a second, is that ours is a premium quality product. And the reason my dogs are barking. The reason it's a premium quality product is most greens powders, what they do is they will cut the grass, or they'll cut the raw ingredients, and then they'll pulverize it into a powder. So what you end up having is a very fibrous and product that kind of floats on the water, doesn't mix well. It's kind of gritty in the back of your throat. What we did is we use a higher quality grass juice process, which basically means we take the nutrients or the ingredients at their highest possible state of nutrient density in terms of when we harvest them. We juice them, we freeze dry them so they're still 100% raw, and then they're basically pulverized into a powder. So it's a much finer powder. It has a lower molecular weight. It dissolves in water beautifully. It has a velvety smooth type of texture. And that actually means your body absorbs it better, because now it's not stuck in the fiber, because we've extracted it from the fiber in the juicing process. So you actually get more bang for your buck. And the taste is amazing. So the taste is amazing because we don't use stevia, we don't use artificial sweeteners, we don't use any of that stuff. We sweeten, call it sweeten, whatever. We make it taste good because of the combination of cinnamon, vanilla, and goji berry. And the flavor, like the aroma is beautiful, the flavor is great. And the other ingredients in the greens, just so you guys know, we've got chlorella, spirulina, alfalfa, barley grass, and maca. So maca for women, amazingly powerful. It's one of the most important adaptogens for helping balance your hormones, help you manage stress better. And it's so good, you can just put it in water. I just take it in like 1 scoop in water several times a day, and it's phenomenal. So that's the greens.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing too. Yeah. It does, and what I like about it is that it does dissolve quickly in water. There's not that gritty feeling or taste. So yes, I have loved it, hands down, loved it. So question though for you, which I have been curious on, when I drink this in the morning, am I breaking my fast by drinking this?
Minimally. I mean, I think it has, if maybe you can see on the ingredient list, I think it's got 20 calories per serving, or maybe a little bit less.
Yes.
So technically it kind of does break a fast, but it's one of those things where I don't personally drink it when I'm fasting. I'll usually have, like what I'm drinking right now is water and apple cider vinegar. But, throughout the day, I'll usually have about 3 to 4 servings of that, because if I'm not on a fasting day, if I'm fasting, I typically don't have anything other than water, maybe some apple cider vinegar and water. But if I'm not fasting, I start my morning with that. So what I'll do is we actually have a really cool concoction called the 30-second toxin flush. So it's 1 scoop of greens, 2 cups of water, 1 tablespoon of lemon, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And I start that first thing in the morning. It's a little bit more of like the greens by themselves taste amazing. When you put in the apple cider vinegar and lemon, it's a little bit more intense, but it's still amazingly awesome. Helps flush out toxins from overnight. Basically 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar is what I usually put in that concoction. And
Okay.
the benefit is that when we're sleeping, we store a lot of toxins. We build up a lot of stuff. So first thing in the morning, just getting rid of that is really helpful. And that's one of the beautiful things about not having breakfast right away is that your body is still in detox mode when you're still kind of getting moving. So that's usually what I start with. And then I'll have, I might just have, sorry, my thing's stuck in my sweater here. I might just have greens in my water throughout the day, or if I'm making a green smoothie, I'll throw in 1 or 2 scoops of that. So I end up having about, 2 to 4 scoops a day. And like I'm telling you, like the energy that it gives you, the focus, like better skin, you're getting more alkalinity in there. You're getting a very high amount of antioxidants because goji berry is one of the highest, I think it's goji berry and cacao, so the raw component of chocolate, the 2 highest sources of antioxidants in the world. And so you're getting a lot more of this into your body now, and that's going to be very powerful for helping reduce free radical damage, reducing inflammation, all this other stuff. And it's just such a great, it's like a 30-second, I'm not going to call it a magic pill, but instead of juicing, having to buy all the produce, juice it, all that kind of stuff, the cleanup, this is like the easy button. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with juicing. I personally don't do that much anymore because it's just way too time consuming. And so I just use my greens and water.
Yeah, I'm excited to make this a part of my daily life and to introduce my kids to it. They've just watched me drink it so far and kind of get grossed out because it's green. But I will work on that with my kids.
I'll give you an amazing recipe for the kids. So we're calling this the Breakfast of Champions smoothie. So it's 1 scoop of greens. Well, you may want to double the recipe depending on how many you're making it for. So you've got 5 people in the household. We have 5, so I'll give you the 5-person version. So we'll do 2 scoops of greens, 1 banana, 1 banana, 2 cups of blueberries. We usually use frozen blueberries. We'll put in 1 to 2 scoops of vanilla protein powder. The vanilla and the greens work beautifully together. You can use whichever flavor you want, but vanilla is really nice. Then water, and then we'll throw in some like ground flax for some fiber, and maybe some flax oil for some omega-3s. Blend it all up. It's amazing. It's so good. And you're getting all the protein, you're getting all the antioxidants, all the fiber, all the omega-3 fatty acids. It's a really, really nice smoothie.
Perfect. I will try that for the family. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So one last question to end on. Do you practice a 24-hour fast each week, or how often do you personally practice a full 24-hour?
I don't know if I do a full 24-hour. I probably do about an 18-hour. So I do it a little bit differently. Like for me, I resonate best with what I'll do is I'll have dinner like at 4 o'clock sometimes because our kids are like, I'm starving. So we'll have dinner like at 5. I usually I'm in a fasted state by maybe 7 o'clock. And then I'm like, okay, let's just be conscious not to have any late night snacking. So I'll stop eating at about, let's say, latest 8 o'clock. I'll go to bed afterwards whenever I go to bed. I wake up the next morning, that's already a 12-hour fast by the time it's 8 in the morning. If I go to noon, that's 16 hours. So usually, and not every day is the same, but if I'm fasting, I usually break my fast late afternoon or just in time for dinner. So it ends up being about an 18 to 20-hour fast for me. And that's just what I found works best for me. And I actually do that more than once a week. I usually do that maybe a couple times. And quite honestly, I'm just just forget to eat sometimes because I'm just busy doing stuff. So,
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's good information. So thank you again. I have kept you longer than I think I told you I would, but thank you so much for sharing your time. And ladies, remember, I base all of my fat loss programs on these concepts. So be sure to reach out to me if you have questions about it or if you are interested in upcoming boot camps. Thank you so much for joining.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny.
Okay. I think we